Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Uncomfortable Truth podcast with myself. My name is Mario. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Dr. Yinka Holt, and I have a really cool intro. So let's listen to Dr. Holt. Dr. Holt is not only a board certified physician and successful entrepreneur, she's also a self made real estate investor who grew her net worth from under 1 million to over 7 million in just 3 years, all while raising three children and running her own medical clinic. Born and raised in Nigeria, Dr. Holt started with humble beginnings, studying by kerosene lamp, helping balance her father's business ledgers as a child, and eventually immigrating to the US, where she worked jobs from housekeeping to substitute teaching while raising two young kids as a new single mom. But her story didn't stop there. She put herself through medical school in her mid 30s, became a practicing nephrologist, held leadership roles as chief of medicine and medical director, and later became a transformational pivot into the real estate investing, which is why she's here with us today. First as a passive investor, then as a capital raiser, and now as the CEO of Promare Capital, where she helps physicians and high income professionals build passive income, reduce taxes, and reclaim their time through strategic multifamily investments. She's a firm believer that high income does not equal wealth, and she's on a mission to teach healthcare workers how to create true financial freedom beyond their W 2 salaries. Get ready today because she's sharing how she built her empire, the mindset shifts that change everything, and why every healthcare professional needs to start investing like their future depends on it. Please welcome the brilliant, resilient, and unstoppable Dr. Oyalinka Holt. Hello, doctor, and welcome to our show.
Thank you, Mario. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being on health equity. Um, oh,
It's
um,
fine. That's us. It's the Uncomfortable Truth podcast.
the Uncomfortable Truth podcast. Yes.
So I wanted to ask you a question. Your story is awesome, and I definitely want to get more into your beginnings. But I want to ask you a little bit about your company, the Promare Capital. What is it that you do with that? What people want to learn about that?
So, Primary Capital is a real estate investing bu- uh, business where we partner with other operators to buy multifamily apartments, and we develop business plans, hold these apartments for a few years, and then exit them for a profit when we sell them.
Okay, so you have a good investors.
We have investors, and I'm very happy to say that our investors trust us so much. We've built so much trust with our investors because we are extremely transparent. We show our investors how we go step by step, and also include the risk as we go along, from sourcing the deal to doing the complete, um, uh, oh my God, I'm blacking out today. How we do the due diligence. Oh my God, the due diligence, because that can make or break the deal. A lot of times when operators skip that or they rush through the due diligence, they run into problems. I
Right.
remember one of the properties that we wanted to buy, the seller didn't tell us that they were mold.
Oh my
He didn't
goodness.
also tell us, he also did not tell us that he added some units without letting the city know. So we're doing due diligence, and he's trying to sell these apartments as X number of units, but on the city records, there's less, I think about six less than what he's trying to sell us. So apparently he didn't even get permits for those. So
Wow.
you can see how due diligence is extremely important when you're trying to do these real estate deals. And apart from that, what the seller tells you or stuff like that, there's also other things about the market. If you don't do a real market survey and see what goes on in that market, and you just assume, the operators are bound to have serious problems. So there's so much that goes into the real estate investing, and I've heard tons of news from investors how they lost their money
Yeah.
because trusted this operator, but this operator only showed them the shiny object and everything was positive, positive, without showing them what could possibly go wrong. The
And
only
do you have your own operators that you use so you don't run into those issues again?
Yes, when I first started, I also ran into some issues. I lost money. And I'm telling you, even
Mm,
with big companies, I don't want to mention names here. But if I
of course.
mention, yes, I mean, that they just came back 3 years later. Sorry, we lost the money. This happened around
That's
COVID. They over leveraged at that time.
okay. Oh my
So
God,
there's
that's
so many
horrible.
things that go into, yes, not once, not twice. When I talked about the market, there was another property that I invested in passively also, that the state and the city during COVID wouldn't let us evict tenants. They're not paying,
Right.
but we pay
Right.
mortgage. And so, I mean, it's horrible. So all these things go into selecting the market where you are, because you want to make sure that those states and those cities and even counties, they are investor friendly, you
So
know?
your story is really interesting, and we got connected by a fellow healthcare worker who's also in real estate, and my drive, like yourself, is to teach people that I love your statement, by the way, which says high income does not equal wealth, because most people don't realize that. They think that because they make 200, 300, $400,000 that they're rich, when in reality they're spending $500,000 and they're in the negative, and they're not
Exactly.
being smart. So
Yep.
your story is interesting because, like you stated, you immigrated from Nigeria. Um, you had a goal to was to continue to grow and for your family and stuff like that. And you became a doctor, and you eventually, got into real estate investing. So my question is, what inspired you to begin your journey towards financial independence?
That is a very, very interesting story and a very interesting question. And I've heard it, a lot of people ask me that. You know, when just like what I said, high income is not equal to wealth. So when I first came to United States, although I've always wanted to be a physician, I love helping and offering my services wherever. And it started as a child. But going to medical school, because that was very dear to my heart, I thought that was going to give me financial freedom. Unfortunately, it didn't. And it was like a huge awakening after I finished my fellowship. So let's start from when I started. I took a loan just like everybody else, right?
Okay.
I deferred payment of those loans because I wasn't making any money through the medical school itself and then through residency. And then I proceeded to do a fellowship, which is another 2 years. So three
Right.
years of residency plus 2 years of fellowship, that's 5 years post medical school. Now, the loan is with interest, right?
Mm,
So
mm.
then, and I didn't realize, I didn't realize how much negative I was going to be into. So I came out of medical school, fellowship, and everything. I thought, oh yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
I'm I'm rich. And then I got a job, and the first thing is, okay, I'm owing now. My loan that I took was about 250,000. But when you defer it for those number of years with interest, compound variable interest, the 250,000 became almost 450,000.
Oh my goodness.
And my annual salary when I got employed after all that residency and fellowship and everything was less than $300,000.
Wow.
So that's number one. But
Yeah.
even then, it didn't sink in. Okay, it didn't sink in yet. So then I need a car. So what did I do? I went and bought a car. Thank God I didn't buy a brand new car. I bought, a fairly old car, 2 years,
Okay.
but I still got a note. That car was about $35,000. I still
Oh
got a
my
car note.
goodness. Yeah.
35 plus whatever I was owing from medical school, right? I got children. And remember, I'm now on a high income, high
Mm-hmm.
bracket. My
Mm-hmm.
children don't qualify for anything. So I have to pay for
Right.
everything. And then the last thing that I did, which was, I mean, I wish I had a mentor to advise me on how to do things. It would have been different. I went and bought a home, another
Oh,
$350,000 home. So
okay.
now, so you can now see where I'm coming from. Like, I just woke up one day and I'm like, I'm I'm like just doing this, one
Yeah, you're
check after the
sinking.
other, after the
Yeah.
other, because I have a home mortgage, I have a car note, and I have my medical school loans to pay,
Yep.
and I'm just living from paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
I can't even go on vacation. So that's when I started thinking, okay, there has to be a way. Oh, and on top of that, remember that I'm also on a high tax bracket now. High tax bracket as a physician,
Yes.
I mean, you make maybe 65 cents on the dollar after taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So then by the time you remove the taxes, how much am I bringing home? And then I have to pay all these notes. And that's when it sank in. Like, okay, even if I'm paying out of this 700,000 now that I find myself owing all the way to my neck,
Yes.
when
Yes.
when am I going to finish paying this loan? That's number one. And then I started remembering, just before I went to residency, I went to go work with a physician, an OBGYN physician, just helping out, doing stuff, just seeing how the office is run and everything. And I remember that physician told me that he had a line of credit. I didn't even know what a line of credit was at the time. So I'm like, what is a line of credit? Oh, you just applied for a line of credit with your bank and then you can spend this money. At the end of the day, this guy thought he had money. He was in the negative, like almost
Oh
3
my
million
God.
negative. I kid you not.
What was he thinking? Wow.
Because the money is there. So they
Yeah.
just spend it. They go on vacation, they buy nice cars and everything, and they have nothing to their name. And it's not the only one. So many other ones that I see like that. They were living on lines of credit. And they rely on, oh, my financial advisor is going to help me invest my money.
Right.
They're investing in stock, and the stock market is a roller coaster. At the end
Yes.
of the day, we don't have anything.
Yes.
And then another thing that happened just a few months when I started working in the hospital, two physicians walked in and they slumped and they died. They were in their 70s. Why did they have to keep working in their 70s? Now, guarantee that they love what they do, right? Just
Right.
like I do.
Yes.
I love what I
Yes.
do. So you might decide to extend past your retirement, right? But the real truth is that they don't have anything and they keep on working until they drop. This is
I'm
something
glad
that
that you actually say that. I'm glad that you say that because the mentality with a lot of people, especially with the healthcare workers and actually high net income earners, is that they go in, work 30, 40 years, retire hopefully with their 401ks, and then by
right.
then, like you said, they're in their 60s, 70s, and like, oh, wait a minute, I cannot retire. I have to continue to work. Or they retire. I saw that a lot in my hospital, and like I worked in rehab, and I used to see that a lot of people who suddenly retire and they come back to the
Mhm.
unit with a stroke, with cancer,
Yes.
um, with depression, that suddenly
Yes.
they don't know what to do and they end up getting sick and then dying.
Yes. And so when I'm putting all of this together, I'm like, no, I don't want to end up like this. I don't want to end up like this. And I want to help as many physicians or healthcare workers as possible not to be in that predicament. It's a horrible place to be after you've served, after you've done everything for your community, help people. And then at the end, you end up like a pauper.
Wow. That's so then so how did you figure that? So like when you were going through this and you were your eyes opened up wide and you saw the treadmill that you were in, like the hamster wheel that you were participating in. What made you decide, like, okay, I need to stop, get off this little wheel here, and find my own financial independence? Well, how did you do that?
So I think this is where my background came in, right? Growing up as a child, I saw my dad. He was a man. That guy was an entrepreneur. Okay, he owns chains of businesses.
Right.
He he had a contractor business. He was a civil engineer. He was doing contracting, and then he went and did sales, and he was working as a salesman. And then he started trading stocks, and then he opened his tire shop selling tires, and that's when he will bring me his ledgers to balance the
Mm-hmm.
books for him. I actually help him to to find some frauds going on in there, and
Wow.
eventually I think I was probably like age 10 or 11. I was signatory to his all his bank statements, his business bank statements. Nobody can take any money out of that account without my signature. I have to
Okay.
see why and what they're going to do with the money. I mean, he realized very quickly that I picked on with the business and everything, and he leveraged that. So all of that, and then another thing that my dad used to do, and I didn't know that he was training me at the time. He would send me to landlord association meetings. He gave me a notebook as a child. I would go to the meetings, all these old men in our neighborhood having landlord association meetings, and I will write everything that they discuss in the meeting, and I'll come back with the notes for my dad. And I continued to do that even until I went to college. And I saw how all these men talk about their rentals, apartments, and how they're making money from the apartment and all those things. So all those things that I heard at that time started to make sense to me. There has
Okay.
to be a way that these men own all these apartments and they're making money. So all those things came back to me when I was in this rabbit hole that I was. And I started thinking, well, you know what? I started researching and I saw a lot of people, even on Wall Street, their investments are backed by real estate. And I said, voila,
Okay.
that's what the missing link is.
Okay.
I
So
need to
I'm
go.
glad you realized that you found your aha moment, right?
Yes,
And you've been doing this for a few years now. And
yes.
obviously you're very successful. You're very successful in your career, super successful in your real estate investment, which is really, really good. Now, as the years have gone by and as your mindset has grown, what can you share? Well, let me ask you this. Can you share a mistake that you made early on in your financial journey that you learned from?
Hmm, absolutely. So one thing that I learned is that when I first started the real estate, even though I started investing passively, I didn't know how to look at the underwriting to know whether a deal is good or not. And that will only happen if you give yourself the education, right? It's just like
Right.
somebody trying to
Right.
be a doctor. You can't just wake up today and say, I want to be a doctor. You have to go to school and learn it. That's
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I didn't do early enough. I think if I had done that early enough and I know how to underwrite and look at the underwritings of the investments that they brought to me, I probably wouldn't have lost money because I would have realized that those investments are not going to make money.
Right.
You know, there's a way that they can, and I don't want to say they lie about the underwriting, but they can make assumptions that will never come to true, that may not be feasible in the real world, in the market that they are. So if those things are not, right, the investment might just go down the drain. Or maybe they're just so laid back. For you to operate and be successful, you have to make sure that you're looking at everything, your business plan.
Right.
Make sure that, how much am I, assigning for this? How much is the budget here? Are we meeting the budget? Are we over the budget? Why are we going over the budget? What is going on? Is there a way that we can reduce the expenses here and there? If they're not that savvy, or they just kind of laid back, or they delegate it to somebody else, things like that can happen. So that's one thing that I will say, that if I had learned or go to the mentorship earlier to learn everything about real estate, just like I took my time to go to medical school, I probably would have not lost the money.
So one of the things that you do is that you like to teach healthcare workers about,
Yes.
investing and stuff like that. What advice would you give to healthcare workers or other professionals who feel stuck in their current financial situation?
So absolutely, that this is a topic that is very, very close to my heart because I've lived it. I went from being a full-time physician and single mom with 2 kids to building a 7+ million real estate portfolio. And this is what I want every healthcare worker listening to me now to know, that as a healthcare worker, we're trained to work hard, earn well, and pour into others. But very few of us are taught on how to build wealth beyond our W-2 income, right? I used to believe that more shifts as a physician will make me more successful, right?
Right, right.
I started losing time with my children, with my life,
Mm.
and almost nearly burned out. So real estate taught me how to generate passive income, how to protect my earnings, and with strategic tax planning, how to create leverage. My advice is, don't just earn, invest wisely. That's the first one. The
Yeah,
second one I want to say is that start before you think you're ready. There's never going to be a time that you're going to say, I'm ready. Just start before you
yeah.
think you're ready. Get mentorship. Okay. Like I said, I didn't have it all figured out when I started investing. I was still a full-time physician and running my clinic, raising 3 kids, still taking calls. But I enrolled in mentorships, and I find the time. Whatever needs to be done, I can finish doing my shift at 12 midnight, and I'm going to sit down and do underwriting and do everything that I need to do at that time. Okay. Um, I joined investment circles. I took action.
Okay, good.
The truth is, if you wait until everything is perfect, you'll wait forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Learn
funny
from,
because it's like that old line, like they say, it's never enough time and there's never enough money. Just jump in and do it.
yeah.
You know.
Learn from others. Ask the right questions. Align with the experts. Real estate is a team sport.
Yes.
You don't have to go it
So,
alone.
Dr. Holt, what
Yeah.
is an uncomfortable truth about money or investing that people often avoid discussing, that they don't want to talk about?
Ask anybody to show you their balance, their bank account statement. They're scared. They don't want to look at it. Or they just want to see, okay, yeah, I just want to see that I'm still in the blue, I'm not in the red. No, but can you really dig down and tell me how much I'm earning, how much I'm spending, how much I'm saving, and how much I'm investing? Most people don't want to talk about it
Right.
because they know the truth. People do things. Let me tell you one example. I went on vacation in 2016, and this is something I've taught all my children. Want is different from need. So we went on
Yes.
vacation, And I mean, I love jewelry. So we went to Dubai and I went to the gold souk and, I'm looking at all this gold jewelry and everything. And then they keep bringing different ones and I didn't like it and I didn't like it. And finally, when they brought the one that I like, I look at the price tag, it was $26,000.
Oh my God.
Now, yeah, somebody will say, well, the excuse that they make, oh, I'm just going to spoil myself this one time.
Yes.
That one time, and you will never get out of that debt. So I'm looking at it. Of course, I know I wasn't going to buy it, but the one that interests me the most, and that's when I felt that I've done a good job raising my children, was at that time, my son was 6 years old. And he came to me. He was playing on his iPad. And when he heard $26,000, that boy came to me and he said, Mom, you do realize that's a want, it's not a need, right?
Smart kid. That's at 6 years old. Good for him.
Yes. Oh, by 9 years old, this boy was already talking about Bitcoin. He already have his Robinhood account and he's doing his thing. Okay, because I encourage him. Start doing something. Just do it. Make mistakes and see how you're going to improve on it.
That is so awesome. How old is he now?
He's going to be 16 this year.
Oh, good for him. So
Yeah,
he's got
he's
a
going to be 16 this
good
year.
good mom that's giving him good financial teachings, because one of the things that happens a lot, not just so much in this country, but pretty much in the world, with society, is kind of like what you talked about. That people are afraid, and I guess I understand why they don't want to show their money or whatever, but they are very comfortable with their ignorance about their financial status. And a lot of parents don't teach their kids to be financially smart, because it's
Right.
something that you're supposed to just go get a job, get paid, put money in the bank account, and then work.
Yep.
And that's a poor person's mentality.
Yeah. And all my children, I tell them, I need you to go and research and tell me, who have you seen that became wealthy from doing a salaried job?
Yeah.
Every single wealthy person that you can see in the top 10%, they are entrepreneurs.
Yep.
Don't settle for being a salaried worker. You're just going to be comfortable.
Yes.
You cannot build wealth with salary.
That's 100%. So, Dr. Holt, how what is a common myth about building wealth that you would like to debunk?
Hmm. Hmm. That is very, very interesting. I don't think I actually thought about that. But I actually thought that they would think, oh, because I'm rich, I'm wealthy. Rich does not equal wealth either.
Right.
Or because I have a job, I'm okay. You're not okay. You need to make yourself uncomfortable and get better every step of the way. I tell my children, even after you've gone to college and everything, I want you to learn trades, learn something new, so that you're versatile. I know I'm not really answering that question, is because I actually never really thought about that question. Like, what is one myth that people
Well,
think about?
a lot of people. So I can give you an example, and
Right.
this happens. I've seen this a lot with, like, maybe the younger Instagram type generation. Like that like they'll say, you'll have a guy or girl, right, person, post something, or like a picture in front of a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, and he's like, "Hey, I made this in 2 phone calls, and follow me and watch. You can get a Ferrari 2 in 2 weeks." So to me, that's a myth
Oh,
that people
oh
have.
yeah, definitely.
People
I mean,
people have that. it's alive, right? So what do you think that's something like that?
Oh yeah, and that is true. I see that a lot. But how can you say, "Oh, I did this"? How long did it take you to do that? That's number one. You have to build it slowly till you get to the top. It's the cliche, Rome was not built in a day. It is true. Every time you try to do something, you're going to make mistake and you're going to improve upon that mistake. And that's what they're not telling. They're not telling the hard work that they need to put in before they get to where they are. I'm somebody that I don't shy from telling people what I do, how many hours I put in,
Yes.
and what I continue to do. I just even said it on this podcast. I said, with the mentorship, when I joined the mentorship, I know I have responsibilities in the hospital and I cannot play with people's lives. So I take care of that. But my own time, when I'm supposed to rest or whatever, that's the time that I use in doing what I need to do to learn how to underwrite, to talk to brokers about apartments, to talk to um, property managers, insurance brokers, and stuff like that. All the work that you have to do, you just have to show up and do that work. And it's not there's no shiny object without tears, without hard work that goes into it.
Yeah. It's
All
kind of
those
it's kind of like
things
the it's kind of like when people have you I don't know if you ever heard of the saying about the bamboo roots. You familiar with the bamboo roots?
no.
So the
Oh,
analogy
the
is this.
bamboo roots,
So
yes. Yeah.
well, yeah. So you put a seed of bamboo right in the
Mhm.
ground, and it takes 5 years for it to grow. The reason for that is because during those 5 years is building a network of roots under in the
Yes.
dirt,
Underneath it.
right?
Right.
Within 5 years, and it just shoots straight up. You
Right.
cut those roots. I'm sorry, the bamboo itself, and then
The bamboo
within a day or two, it shoots straight up
shoots up again. Yeah.
because it took 5 years to build a foundation. You
Yes.
need a strong foundation before you can
Correct.
go off and take off. And it's exactly what you're saying.
Yes. So I made that analogy earlier too. I said when I wanted to become a doctor, I didn't just wake up and said I'm going to be a doctor today. I went to high school, I went to college, and then I did a pre-med. After pre-med, then I took an exam, MCAT, and then I passed the exam, and then I went to medical school. And then I finished medical school in 4 years, took exams again before I can start my residency. 3 exams. Then I started residency, and I still have to take a certification that I passed, and I became a board certified physician. The same way, every single um, job or whatever you can, business, there's protocols, there's steps, and you cannot jump it.
Right.
You have to build the foundation and start building upon that foundation step by step.
So, Dr. Holt, I have a question.
Yeah,
You are extremely successful. You are somebody that's looking to start, right? That can use you as an example.
right.
They see you as somebody who, like we said, you pay your dues, you work hard. You stated that working hard will give equal success. You stated that foundation helps you build your future. You talk
Yes.
about being smart about your money and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I see you as somebody that people they need to look up to, right? However, I want to know what's behind the curtains. What is behind all that work? Like what? Not necessarily what drives you, but what is something that is just the truth about being to where you get? Like, what would you tell somebody? Is it like, did you make this super easy, or how hard was it for you to get where you're at? So people need to know, like, was it like sleepless nights, working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and how did you get to where you're at? Like, I see the glamour, I see the success story and stuff like that, but how did you get to this point?
Thank you very much. That's a very, very um, good question. And it's a question that it could be heartbreaking too when I think about what I did before I get to where I am today. Um, as you can imagine, being a single parent is not easy.
Right.
There's a lot of nights that I will cry myself to sleep because there's just no help out there. And even if I can ask for help, I need to pay and I don't have the money to pay. When I came to this country, I did a PhD in organic chemistry and pharmacognosy. But because of how long it took me to get myself situated here, I couldn't just start to work as a PhD holder anymore. And that's not even what I wanted. I wanted to be a physician, but I still need to survive. I needed to survive with two children. So I was doing two jobs. My daughter used to call me a sleephead because every little time I have, I want to sleep. But she's a social butterfly. She wants to go out. So as soon as she sees me come inside the house, oh, mom, I need to go there. I said, look, I need to sleep. She will pick up the phone and she'll call my friends and say, my mom is a sleepyhead. Do you think we can come spend the weekend in your house because you can take us here and there? I'd let them go. But the truth about these things is that I worked in hotels, laying beds, doing
Yes.
dishes. Even when I finished medical school, before I got into residency, I did a live-in home health where it's like a glorified housemaid job.
Right.
Clean, clean the bathroom, clean the kitchen, drive the woman to grocery, take her to her medical appointments, cook breakfast for her, do her laundry. It was a glorified housemaid job. But this is something that I had to do to survive. And when you start thinking about all those things and where I am now, I can only give thanks to God. It's not by my making. My favorite verse in the Bible is Proverbs chapter 3, verses 3 to 5. It says, lean not on your understanding, acknowledge the Lord in all your ways, and he will make your path straight. Everything that I've done, I thank God because he gave me the strength. I know I have a lot of whys, but even without the strength and the wisdom from God, I don't think I will get to where I am today. But there's a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of crying that goes behind the curtains. And even when I became a physician, there's I don't even want to talk about that. Difference between, you having to prove yourself because
Right.
you're a woman.
Yep.
In some communities, they feel like women are not equal to men, even in the same profession.
Right.
What about the fact that I'm immigrant, I'm not from here, and I have to prove myself way and beyond so that they can know that I know what I know. Those things can be very hurtful, but these are things that I didn't take as negative. I take it as a positive. It drives me. The more I have to prove myself, the more I'm proving myself and the more I'm putting my head high up. But I don't want people to think that it's easy to get to where I am. You have to put the work, you have to grow the roots, lay the foundation, and then you can slowly begin to enjoy it.
I think that everything that you just stated, I'm glad that we're talking about it because a lot of people have that fallacy that they think they can just show up and get rich and be wealthy and do everything that you've accomplished, in your life without the hard work. And I am so thankful that you mentioned the tears and the sleepless nights and not being able to spend the time with the kids that you want to and stuff like that, and how God provided you a pathway, you know,
Yes,
and the strength. But I
yes,
also think that in addition to all that God gave you, they gave you the tools that you needed, but it's up to you to use the tools. And so give yourself credit for the tools that you use that you were given to become successful because wow. I mean, it's amazing to see where you're at, and to your story definitely needs to be told because that's what I like to hear from people, the rawness, right?
yeah,
How it is so difficult because I like you, I'm on the like this interesting mission to tell people that Every time you look at somebody who's successful, you need to look at the other side. It's like a yin and yang, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of sacrifice that goes behind the curtain that people
Yes.
need to be aware. And thank you for doing that, because that's really cool. So now that we know all that, and like I promise you, I'm respecting your time because I know you're working today, so I want to respect your time. I'm going to ask you just two questions. How would you define true wealth and fulfillment beyond just money?
There's so many types of wealth. There's physical wealth, there's financial wealth, there's health and happiness. The true wealth comes from how happy you are inside. A lot of people can have money, but they're not happy. And that's not wealth. There's time wealth. Like, okay, now I have all the time and I can spend time with my family. So when you put all of that together, it's wealth is not just one thing. It's all around. Every totality of how you feel around you. You can be wealthy because you have a lot of friends, you have support, you have your family that can support you. And so
Yes.
you have, that kind of wealth. So there's different kinds of wealth. And it's not just about the money. I went into real estate because I wanted to have that financial freedom, which is the financial wealth. And so that I can stop trading my time for money. And the truth is, even though I thought I was just going to go in, and I can't just up and go like that. It's something that you have to plan strategically. But if you surround yourself with people, you getting ideas, getting knowledge, getting wealthy by all these people and your family, immediate family, that is what I define as true wealth.
Yeah. That is beautiful. That's perfectly said, and I'm glad you said that because people need to hear that. You know. Okay. Last question. Now that you share with us, your the struggles and the hardships that it took for you to get to where you're at, what would be a piece of advice that you can give to somebody who's just starting out, in whatever they're doing, whatever they're either doctors or nursing or becoming an architect or whatever, but also like you and your father that have that entrepreneurial like seed in them. They're
Right.
like, I don't want to be doing this, clock in, clock out kind of job. I want to do something more. What would you recommend to them?
Just like I said, I would say get mentorship in anything that you want to do. First of all, think about what you want to do and what are your true superpowers. Because people might want to do something, but they're not good at it, right? You have to first do an introspection, look at yourself, and see what are those things that I'm good at and how can I improve on those things. That's the number one. Because for somebody to actually do something and not feel burdened by it, they have to enjoy it. So find something that you can truly enjoy. It will bring you joy. It won't feel as if you are overtasking yourself, and then start. Now, if you're going into real estate, get mentorship. Whatever you want to do, that whichever vehicle you want to use to get to where you need to go, learn and learn it very well. Now,
Perfect.
don't underestimate how much value you bring, and just you know being who you are.
That's beautiful. I'm glad that you state that because people need to hear that. It's really good to hear that from people like yourself who are super successful, and people need to realize that this is the advice that they need to follow from somebody like yourself. And I thank you for that. So, as we're ending, um, where can people find you? So let us know where people can get a hold of you if you have like an Instagram account or LinkedIn or whatever. So let us know where we can get a hold of you.
So first, they can reach me on my website, which is https colon forward slash forward slash www.promeritcapital.com. They can reach me at Yinka Holt Real Estate. They can reach me on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. They can reach me at Dr. Yinka Holt.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for today. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate the knowledge that you gave me, and to the people that are going to be listening to this, because you speak the truth, and it's tons of great information that you gave us. So
Thank you very
for
much, Mario.
everybody,
I appreciate you.
thank you so much, and for everybody that's listening, we'll catch you in the next episode. Take care.